If you're watching this video, that means you're thinking about visiting Iceland for the winter time, looking for some great local tips. Well, you're in the right place. I'm Dan, born and raised Icelander and the founder of Wake Up Reykjavik, where our mission is simple: to ensure that everyone that visits Iceland has the best experience possible. Now, one of my earliest YouTube videos was about visiting Iceland during wintertime, and it's still one of our most popular videos. But in that video, I simply hit record and just said whatever came to mind. For this video, I decided to take it up a notch. More practical info, better advice, and pretty much everything you need to know for an Iceland adventure during winter. Now, our goal is to reach 50,000 subscribers, and we've got a long way to go. But if you enjoyed the video and you want to help us out, then definitely hit the like and subscribe button. In Iceland, we have a saying which is "Góðverk dagsins." It means the good deed of the day. And your good deed of today could be subscribing to this channel. Anyways, let's get started with the video. Now, to simplify and organize this video, we're going to be breaking it up into a few parts, as you can see here. Basically, everything you need to know for a trip to Iceland during wintertime. Now, to begin with, how crazy does the weather get during wintertime? When you think about Iceland, you might picture something like this. Sometimes that's the case, but not always. Now, here's a quick look of some of our average temperatures during our winter months. Surprisingly, a lot warmer than a lot of travelers expect. What makes it feel colder is our famously chilly wind, which has a way of just cutting right through you. It's quite cold. Now, we usually get our first snow of the winter during December. Sometimes it's earlier, sometimes it's later, but usually in the month of December. And I always love it because it gives the city such a Christmassy feel to it. However, January and February are known as our bad weather months. If we're gonna get heavy rain, snow, or strong winds, it's usually during this part of the year. That said, it can vary from year to year. Last January, for example, very mild, but the year before that brought some heavy snow. Regardless of when you visit Iceland, as long as you dress warmly, you'll be able to enjoy the country to its fullest. You're probably wondering, Dan, do you have a favorite winter month to experience Iceland? And the answer is absolutely. My top picks are September, December, and late March, early April, and here's why. September and late March, early April are very similar. To begin with, milder weather. It's not as cold as midwinter January time, making exploring and checking out some of the sites much more enjoyable. Number 2 is fewer crowds. The summer travelers are gone, allowing you to enjoy Iceland in a much more relaxed and peaceful atmosphere. Number 3 is better prices. Hotels and flights are usually much more affordable compared to the peak season here in Iceland. Number 4, and last but not least, Northern Lights. With longer nights and less chance of snowstorms, these months are prime condition for Northern Lights spotting. I'm also a big fan of December. Here's why. Number 1, first snowfall of the season. Like I mentioned before, we usually get our first snowfall of the winter during December time, which turns Iceland into a winter wonderland. Number 2 is Christmas spirit. Downtown Reykjavik lights up with Christmas decorations and the holiday vibes are everywhere. Number 3 is more festive activities. In December, starting December 1st, we open up, for example, the ice skating rink in downtown Reykjavik. Very beautiful, very fun, very Christmassy. I love it. Number 4 is New Year's Eve. Iceland goes all out for New Year's Eve, celebrating with fireworks like you've never seen before. Plus, we host the Wake Up Reykjavik New Year's Eve party every year on this night, which is an absolute blast. But you might be wondering, but what about the other months? So while September, December, late March, early April are my personal favorites, I would still say October, November, January, February can still be amazing, but they do come with some considerations. Like I mentioned before, January and February are usually the months where we receive heavy snow. This can be romantic and cozy, but it does increase the chances of tour cancellations and flight delays. Travel tip: if you're visiting Iceland during January or February, I would recommend staying in Iceland for at least 5 to 6 days. So if there are any flight delays or tour cancellations, you will have time later on in your trip to reschedule an event and move some things around. Because a short 2 to 3 days trip to Iceland might leave you disappointed if bad weather strikes. But no matter when you visit, Iceland is amazing all year round. But knowing what to expect each month can help you plan your perfect trip. So what month are you planning on visiting Iceland? Please let me know in the comments. I'd love to see it. Chapter 3, Winter Packing List. Now I've seen a lot of Iceland blogs with Iceland packing lists. And they usually say bring 5 pairs of socks, 5 pairs of underwear, thermals, layers, blah, blah, blah. Something like that. So instead of just showing you an actual packing list, I'm just gonna show you what look you want to be aiming for when visiting Iceland during winter. From September 1st to March 31st, this is exactly how I dress almost every day. Boom. Functional and fabulous. This outfit is all you need. A warm parka or úlpa as we call it here in Iceland, some warm sweaters, some long sleeve warm shirts, warm pants, hiking shoes, gloves, hats. That's all you need. The key is staying warm, because if you're not freezing, you'll actually be able to enjoy Iceland's amazing sights instead of shimmering through them. Of course, don't forget the basics, underwear, socks, phone chargers, all the usual stuff. But if you have an outfit like this, you'll have everything you need to conquer Iceland during the winter time. Woo! Warm. Now here are my recommendations for 5 must-do tours in Iceland to make your trip in the wintertime absolutely unforgettable. Number 1, as always, the Reykjavik Food Walk, which is the perfect first day activity in Iceland. Now this tour is such a fun way to get to know Iceland's vibrant foodie scene and learn about our local culture and history while exploring Reykjavik with a fun and knowledgeable expert local guide. You'll visit some of the best hidden gems in the city to sample some amazing traditional Icelandic food. It's such a fun way to kickstart your trip to Iceland and also get some good recommendations and tips on what to do and where to go that will be useful to you throughout your stay in Iceland. The number 1 tour, Reykjavik Food Walk, and if you can, book it in advance, and if there's availability, do it on your first or second day early on in your trip. Number 2 is a small group Northern Lights tour. The Northern Lights are on everyone's bucket list when visiting Iceland, and for good reason. This season's Northern Lights forecast promises amazing sightings, and in a small group local setting, you'll maximize your chances of seeing the magical lights. A little pro tip is to book this for early on in your stay, similar to the Reykjavik Food Walk. And the reason I recommend booking Northern Lights for early on is that if there is bad weather or low chances of seeing the Northern Lights, you'll have your rest of your stay to either reschedule, or if you go on the Northern Lights tour and don't see the lights, you'll be able to reschedule as many times as you'd like until you see the lights. Next tour is Golden Circle, Friðheimar and Secret Lagoon Small Tour. What a long name. This tour is great for 3 reasons. Visit the Golden Circle, which is a very classic, very popular, beautiful sightseeing route where you'll see sites like Gullfoss Waterfall, Geysir, Þingvellir National Park. After that, you'll go to Friðheimar Tomato Farm, a very charming, cozy and beautiful family-run tomato farm or greenhouse here in Iceland. And that's where we'll stop for lunch. And last but not least, the Secret Lagoon, or Gamla Laugin, as we call it here in Iceland. You'll end the day soaking in Iceland's oldest swimming pool, surrounded by geothermal streams. It's very beautiful, very relaxing, the perfect way to end a long day of beautiful sightseeing. Number 4 is a glacier snowmobile tour. For the adventure lovers, doing a glacier snowmobile tour is an absolute must. There are many different snowmobile tours to choose from. You can go on a snowmobile only tour, or you can combine it with sightseeing, hot springs, or ice caves. Loads to choose from, and you can see all the tours that are available at wakeupreykjavik.com. Fifth and final recommendation is the 2-day South Coast Glacier Lagoon and Ice Cave Tour, the ultimate experience. This is one of the newest experiences offered at Wake Up Reykjavik, and this 2-day adventure has it all. You'll explore all of the highlight sightseeing spots of the south coast, like Skógafoss, Seljalandsfoss, Black Sand Beach, but you also visit the Diamond Beach and Glacier Lagoon, or Jökulsárlón as we call it. And try saying that 5 times. Jökulsárlón, 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 Jökulsárlón. It's tricky, but it's beautiful and definitely a highlight of this tour. But this is a tour that doesn't have one highlight, it has many highlights. And one of the other highlights of this tour is exploring the magical blue ice caves. But this experience also includes an overnight stay at a charming hotel on the south coast of Iceland with breakfast included. How awesome is that? So this is a 2-day tour packed with amazing sights, awesome activities, and I just know you would absolutely love it. All these tours showcase the very best of Iceland's winter wonderland, from delicious food to northern lights to glacier adventures to hot springs. All amazing. And since you're watching this video, you can use the promo code WINTER for a discount at wakeupreykjavik.com. When it comes to choosing an accommodation in Iceland, I've always said to aim for a centrally located hotel or Airbnb. Staying in the heart of Reykjavik not only saves you some transit time, but also cuts down on transportation costs to get to and from the city. Pro tip: to check if a hotel is truly centrally located, then just search for it on Google Maps and measure the walking distance from landmarks like Harpa Concert Hall or Hallgrímskirkja, which is our big iconic church. Both are excellent reference points for the downtown area of Reykjavik. In my previous videos, I've avoided naming specific hotels. Now, why is that? Because hotel prices in Iceland, like elsewhere, can very much depend on the availability. So for example, a hotel that I might love and which is affordable might skyrocket in price when you're booking it, leaving you feeling overcharged. With that being said, I'm constantly being asked, what hotel should I book? So while keeping the price changes in mind, here are a few recommendations based on personal experiences or feedback from other travelers that have booked through Wake Up Reykjavik. Disclaimer, I'm not affiliated with any of these hotels. They don't know I'm recommending them, and I'm not being paid to say this. This is purely my honest opinion. Number 1 is Room with a View. This was a pleasant surprise when I stayed there. The room I had definitely lived up to its name, offering a beautiful view of the city. It was spacious with a touch of luxury and reasonably priced at around $140 per night. When I booked it, at least. Plus, you can't get more central than this since it's located right in the heart of downtown Reykjavik. Number 2 is the Reykjavik Edition by Marriott. Now, this hotel had a lot of hype, so my expectations were very high. Now, the good thing about this hotel is that the hotel itself is absolutely stunning. They have a very beautiful cocktail lounge by the lobby area, a rooftop cocktail bar, great restaurant, spa area. Everything outside the room was absolutely top notch. However, the room itself was very small and very basic. For the price I paid, I definitely felt a bit underwhelmed. With that being said, they definitely do have larger, more premium rooms available, but I can't imagine how much that would cost. Now, these are the only 2 hotels that I personally stayed at in the downtown Reykjavik area. Since I live in Iceland, staying in hotels isn't something that I do very often. However, I've been in the travel business for over a decade, helping thousands of travelers plan their trip. Throughout that, I've gotten plenty of recommendations and feedback about hotels from previous guests. Now, here are some hotels that I haven't stayed at myself, but have constantly heard great things about from others. So while searching for accommodations on booking.com, I definitely recommend checking these hotels out to compare availability and pricing for your travel dates. Since they've received solid reviews, they might be a great fit for your trip. Quick and practical tips, winter edition. Now in this section, I'll share some rapid fire tips on visiting Iceland. Quick, practical advice that doesn't need an entire chapter in this video. Now before we get started, I'm gonna take this off because I am extremely warm in my winter outfit. This Man, all right. Now let's see how many tips I can get through in 2 minutes. Albert, start the timer. Number 1, everyone in Iceland speaks English fluently and cards work everywhere. You can speak Icelandic and use cash if you'd like, but it's not necessary. Number 2, when you land in Iceland, you'll arrive at Keflavik International Airport and not Reykjavik, the capital of Iceland. Number 3, expect it to take around 2 hours from when you land to when you arrive at your hotel in Reykjavik. Approx an hour to get through the airport and approx an hour to get to the city, 2 hours total. Number 4, if you're renting a car in Iceland, skip the confusing parking machines and just download the Easy Park app. It's much simpler to use. Number 5, Reykjavik has a numbered parking system, P1, P2, P3. Parking lots that are P1 are the most expensive parking, whereas parking lots with P3 are the least expensive parking lots in Iceland. I recommend using parking garages as opposed to street parking. There's a great parking garage which I always use, which is very centrally located, which is called Traðarkot, and it's similarly priced as P3. For free parking in downtown Reykjavik, search for Rastargata on Google Maps. There you'll find a parking lot with free parking. If you're going to Iceland over the winter time and you don't own warm clothes, like a big warm jacket like I was just wearing, instead of buying one just for your trip, I would save the money and rent it instead. There's a store called Iceland Cover, very centrally located. They simply rent all the winter clothing that you could possibly need for a trip in Iceland during winter. Iceland doesn't have ride-sharing apps like Uber or Lyft, but we do have and use taxis. And the largest taxi provider in Iceland is called Hreyvill. To call them, it would simply be 00354 585522. I think I'm saying that right. I'll also put the exact number right here. The best rated tours and experiences can be found at wakeupreykjavik.com. And if you have any questions regarding your trip or Iceland in general or whatever it may be, you can always send me an email, info@wakeupreykjavik.com, and I'll get back to you right away. So that's it, the ultimate travel guide to visiting Iceland during winter time. I really hope it was helpful. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, please subscribe to the channel, comments or questions or whatever it may be, leave it in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you guys, and I'll see you in Iceland soon.